All right, everybody. I'm Johnny Scoville, and this is After the Burn. This is an exciting one. After the Burn is all about introducing you, the people that watch Chase the Heat, to the names you've heard for years from the reviews I've done, but haven't necessarily seen face to face. And it's really sort of fun. And today, holy moly, today, we got a legend. Now, before I bring him in, there's a couple things I want to say. Thank you all for being here. This is one of those weird chats where I can't really say hello to everybody because I'm kind of focusing on John and the conversation we're going to have. But I will be able to see things, hopefully. If you have questions for John or myself, please put a couple capital Q's up in front of it, and it'll catch my attention, and I'll put a star next to it. And they'll accumulate, and we'll ask questions from people that watch. A quick little bit of housekeeping. Tomorrow, everybody, is going to be the Bus Pass only live stream. It's going to be fun. Got some surprises. So hope everybody that has a Bus Pass will be there. Before I get it to bring him on, I got to tell you about him. It's John Hard from CaJohn's. Now it's funny. Barella just typed in the chat, the man, the myth, the chili head. And you know how the expression normally goes, right? The man, the myth. It's the legend. And I've been saying for years, that's why I always say Barella understands the show, because I don't like being called a legend. And you know why I've said this for years, since the first time someone called me a legend. I say that I don't like being called a legend. Why? Because I know a couple. And knowing a legend humbles you and lets you know that you're not one. So we're going to bring a legend on right now. This is John Hard. John Hard is from CaJohn's, and just, honest to God, a living legend. Please do me a favor. Everybody, hit the like button right now, because it's going to bring more. Here's what happens when you guys, we're going to trick YouTube. Here's how the like button, how the algorithm works. If everybody leaves a couple quick comments and hits the like button, everybody, it's a whole bunch of engagement. And the algorithm goes, Scoville's up to something. Got to get that in front of a bunch of people. And more people will end up seeing this. So everybody throw a bunch of comments in here real quick. Welcome, John Hard. And please hit the like button. And we're going to start right now. So without any further ado, this is my friend, John Hard. How are you, bro?
Hey, I'm doing great. We are experiencing something very unusual for southern New Mexico. We've got a snowstorm going on. So
holy moly.
People are just freaked out here,
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, man. You're an old bird like you and I. You know how to drive in it. A lot of those people don't really know how to drive in snow, and it's scary.
Yeah, all those years in central Ohio, and not that we're known for a lot of snow, but it gets crazy with ice most of the time.
You look wonderful.
Thank you, sir. So do you.
You know what? I was hoping we were going to get a cool hat, maybe a red jacket or a green jacket. You just look festive and spectacular. So I appreciate you taking the time. Listen, you're John Hard. I got some really cool questions. You know why this is cool, John? You and I have known each other for a long time. Real quick, before everybody, let me show you. I think I'm not positive, John, but I think this may be the first year you and I met. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I think so. I'm not sure where this is.
Chance that bolo looks a little familiar.
Doesn't it, though?
Yeah, but I think that was the first year. You were right across the aisle, sort of.
Yeah. And then this is a different year. Me, and Primo.
My buddy Primo.
Yeah, and then this is you look at John's always, listen, John is always festive as can be. Seriously. All the pictures they're just wicked good. So now listen, the reason this is so interesting, it's like, I always tell people this, when you meet somebody and just sort of click with them, you just sort of click with them. You don't go into interview mode. I never sat you down and said, all right, John, I got some questions for you. You know what I mean? I just kind of connected with you. You're easy to talk to. You're fun to be around. But I got so many great questions of things I've never asked you. So I know we're going to get to CaJohn's, but before we even get to CaJohn's, before then, what sparked your interest in hot sauce, period? Where did that come from?
Well, it's kind of funny. I said Columbus, Ohio is where I'm from, and it's meat and potatoes Midwest. Hottest thing in our house was black pepper. Then my family business was fire protection. And I drew a contract to come down and work with the oil companies in Louisiana. And being from the meat and potatoes, I'd had Taco Bell and a couple other things. It just kind of sparked my interest a little bit. But got down there in the midst of all that Cajun Creole cuisine and the people that create it and do things with it. And I just kind of went crazy with it. And then I also got sent out to the Midland, Odessa, Texas area and worked with the people out there and learned all about Tex-Mex and New Mex and Mexican. And just so
there's a lot of subtle differences that a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah. I mean, of course, it's really different if you talk to them. That's nothing like our cooking. But yeah, subtle differences really sort of say it.
Absolutely. All right. So now
that's where CaJohn comes from, by the way.
Well, that was going to be my question because I never said you. Is there a story behind the name?
Well, the thing is,
guess like Cajun John. I mean,
it's Cajun John is what they started calling me because I would, we were out offshore, and so you're out there. You're out there for quite a while, and you're out there 24 hours. I mean, you sleep out there. And this was back in the late 70s, early 80s too, and they would call me Cajun John, making fun of me, but I'm an Irishman from Ohio, and the way they talk, it'd be like, here come CaJohn, So it was CaJohn Jean, and they dropped the Jean, and it was just CaJohn. So that's kind of where it came from. And, it's been there ever since. Awesome. Even when I went out working in Texas, that was
so cool. That's where I thought it came from. Do you remember the day we were filming for Super Hots and we were down in? This is us at the table down at Vic's place. Remember that?
Yeah, that's in North Carolina.
You know what's so cool about that? I knew you were a legend. Honestly, I've known before I even met you. I knew who you were. But walking around there. I mean, God, I saw the sauces, every sauce that I made in there. I saw sauces of yours. Oh, my God. I can't believe how many. So I have pictures of some of the sauces, just stuff that's not around anymore. And it was just like, it kind of gave me an idea of how, golly, what was the first sauce that you ever made for CaJohn?
Well, the first sauce I ever made from CaJohn was, it ended up making it to market, and it was called Hot Spot Sparky. It had Dalmatian on it. We had a Dalmatian named Sparky, but it was a cayenne garlic sauce. A good friend of mine that I had met down in Louisiana, Rush Biasat, he had a hot sauce called Cajun Rush, and he kind of helped me with the formula and the recipe. I sent him down my attempt, and he was like, "Oh, no." He said, you got to do it this way. So we did it that way, and that was it. And then we added some habanero to it, and we had a cayenne garlic habanero sauce, and it just kind of got me started on what I call modular sauces, where your recipe, once you get the balance of a recipe, if you just exchange the ingredients in it, you take one out and you put another one in, and it tends to work most of the time, keeps that balance. And balance is the most important thing. I was taught that a long time ago by a couple good friends, Rush and then Jim Campbell of Mild to Wild Pepper and Herb Company out of Franklin, Indiana. He's a fire chief as well, so we have fire protection background together. So
nice.
I
think most of the time a sauce, if it's not it doesn't taste good, it's because it's not balanced right, and that's it.
The one thing I was told early on is, it's really easy to make a sauce hot, but it's not easy to make it hot and taste good.
Right.
And, it has to have something that's going to draw your interest rather than just slap you in the nose,
Right. Now, you obviously have the hang of it, because how many sauce awards? I was trying to figure it out, trying to find how many hot sauce awards have you won?
Well, prior to the Hot Shots company buying us, there was over 600, and now there's over 700.
700 awards.
Yeah.
That's funny. I mean, it's almost
now that's just because I was crazy competitive in it. It's like chili cooks or, these people that just go out on the circuit and do it like every week, or barbecue cooks.
Right.
I was entering every little thing I could, and I counted them all. But, if we get down to major awards, I probably have, what I would say is a little bit over 200 of those are major awards, and a good percentage of those, more than 50% of those, are first place. So,
and right there, we got something really cool. It's a shame. That is, everybody watching, that is the Hot Sauce Hall of Fame ring that Mr. John Hard has. Now, here's the bummer. There it is right there. There it is right there. The first time I met you, it was in New York. I had a ball. We were hanging out. It was just wicked cool. You took your rig off, and I had a picture. I don't know what happened to it.
I've got it.
Do you have it?
I've got it.
Nice. There's a picture of you wearing your ring. That is so cool. But I remember, listen, there's nothing like going to a hot sauce event is fun. But going to a hot sauce event and staying next to you is a different experience. Because honest to God, like when I go through a hot sauce event, a lot of people know me. It's different with you. You're like the grandfather of the whole game.
The Godfather.
God, yeah.
That's what they call me, the Godfather of hot sauce.
And
they don't call me that because I whack people. They call me that because I've helped so many people get started.
Yeah, you've whacked a few. Come on. I know where the bodies are buried. How many people you've given cramps to, John? If you think over the years?
Oh, I know there's a lot of those.
Do you have any great stories? Do you have a story that stands out of somebody eating your sauce and going off the rails?
Oh, no. I mean, it happens so often when you've got a retail store like we did for a long time. It kind of happens every day because, that guy walks up and I said he wants to be a hero. It's just kind of like, okay, what's the hottest stuff you got? And say, well, what do you usually eat? That doesn't matter. I can take anything you got.
Okay, cowboy. And,
we have various things that we would say. We'd say the eyes don't lie because they immediately fog up and they get glazed. And the other thing is what we call a Godfather syndrome because, sorry about that. That's a customer.
It's a great ringtone, dude.
Well, I got two phone numbers, one my personal and one the business. So, but I'll get back to them there. I get it to be quiet, but.
So real quick, I want to tell you this.
But anyway, the other thing, the Godfather thing, is it paralyzes the vocal cords, so they go. It's hard.
Oh. I think it's funny the ones that act tough and try to tough it out and pretend they're not hurting, and their eyes start to water, and you can tell that they're doing everything they can just to hang on, and you just look at it and they're dying. I think those are the funny ones.
Yeah, that's the thing, and we would have them in the retail store, like I said, all the time, and that they tell you that it wasn't hot, and they turn around and walk away, and like they couldn't grab the drink out of their wife's hand fast enough or girlfriend's hand fast enough to start sipping on it, and they didn't think we were watching, but we were.
I love that.
And with Vic and the execution station, that was very interesting there because we would just break down people. It was the forerunner of hot ones.
Hot ones. Yeah, I've had fun at a lot of times there, man. And the funny thing is there's some characters, man. Yeah. There's one in particular, a young woman, man. She's there all the time. I can't remember her name. I don't even need to say another word. I know exactly that you know who I'm talking about.
You're talking about the one that says, if any of you are offended by profanity or have little children, get the hell out of here.
Every time I go near her, she is all over my goatee, grabbing me and stuff. She's a pistol. She's funny. But that execution station, seriously, that was if it weren't for that
area,
there'd never be a Hot Ones. Now, listen, Mark Palavos is a friend of mine down in Florida. He's a great guy. I've eaten hot stuff with him. He says, oh, my God, hi, John. You are my favorite sauce manufacturer. I have a lot of memories of Ignite, Talon, Lethal Ingestion, among others. Terrific products. I hope you're well.
Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate it. Those are some of the older ones too. So you've been a fan for quite a few years. So
Mark is great. He's the real deal. He's a chili head. Do you have plans on what? Let me ask you this. You started CaJohn's what year?
And 1997. Actually, its 28th birthday was on the 5th of January.
Really?
So I've been in business that long. Of course, we sold it to Hot Shots in 2018.
Right.
But
what was the? We're going to get to that in a minute. But what was the touring, the festival situation like when you started CaJohn?
It was really. There were only a few national makers. What I would say, specialty makers. Everybody had the. Marie Sharp's was pretty big. Cult. You had cult followings of some of these sauces from out of the country. You had a few. There was always the big triangle of Blair, David Ashley, and Dave Hirschkoff. Who everybody hated everybody in that little triangle, but they all
fueled each other on.
They all claimed to be the first, but they all struggled to be the hottest. It was.
I would say that David Ashley had a bit of an obsession about it, for sure.
Yeah, and the thing is a lot of people. It all depended on parts of the country you were in, whether there was no nationally known specialty hot sauce.
Now we got a question. We got a question from Dale Cox, but he's going to ask what the hottest and mildest sauce you have. But here's what I want to ask you. Lately, when did it happen? There's this trend now where just like it seems like hot is just hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. When did that start?
Oh, it always was there. It just has been. The people that are doing the backyard growing are the ones that really have pushed that. We as makers and all the makers who were coming in as new makers back, I will say in the 2000s, as my dad was born in what he called '06, so let's just say the 2000 aughts. It was just a thing that. We accepted that Red Savina Habanero was the hottest, and then the Ghost Chili came along, and there was a whole lot of consternation about that, and it was kind of like, how could there be? And the Indians claimed that it was a variant of the cayenne, and it was just like that chili can't get that hot. It can't be 800,000 is what they were saying.
Right.
And then it just kind of went nuts. And then the makers, we've had such an influx of hobby makers and backyard growers. And so we've got all the different, I was reading something a couple of days ago about the chocolate primo tally is the new hottest, and it's been proven. And, in 2000,
pepper.
In 2008, I don't doubt that it's hot, but in 2008, we got involved with the Chili Pepper Institute, and that's what eventually brought me here to southern New Mexico, was working with them. And, these things are tested, and they're tested from the time that they got seeds, and they take care of them, and they do them, and, but there's a lot of things that go into it scientifically that need to be proven. And,
right.
It's just the real crazy sauces that they would peak and ebb because flavor has been when we had the retail store, some of our best selling sauces were our very hottest. And people would walk up and they'd say, "What's your hottest?" And we'd say, "Do you want to try it?" "Oh no, I'm taking this back to my friend, my sister-in-law." It wasn't just guys, it was a lot of women. It's like the one you were talking about in Texas there. She was crazy. She told Vic, she says, "You hurt me and I love it, and I'm going to bite your off."
I'll tell you something. Listen, I got a video of her. So we were filming one day, and she knew who I was, and listen. There's no way I could post that video. I mean, there's just no way I could post that video. She was, I've seen some like over the top. She was fun though, man. She was so colorful.
She was. I mean, she belonged on a sitcom or something. She
needs a reality show. So what's the hottest sauce you ever made for CaJohn? What was it?
Well, I had a handle in things for a while after that Hot Shots, and the Black Mamba 6 was probably the hottest that I made on my own, but then they went on and they did the Bubble Trouble or something, the gum, and they did the Black Mamba 16, which I
drank a bottle of that,
and it's not 16, but it just I don't know. There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. And, that just because it's in there doesn't mean that it's that hot.
No, but for marketing, I would do the same thing. I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting because, like I said, from a scientific standpoint, a whole lot of these things that are in marketing and used in marketing can't be proven. But,
right. Well, how many sauces? Listen, John.
P.T. Barnum said, let the buyer beware.
Right. How many times have you seen a sauce that says it's the hottest sauce in the world? And there can only be one hottest sauce in the world.
I never claimed to do that on anything in my marketing. I always let the victim tell me what's the hottest sauce they ever.
Let the victim tell me. Listen, Brandon Swear says, John Hart, it was great to hang out and talk at Zest Fest. Are you planning on attending 2025? Appreciated your advice about leaning into the name.
We'll be there. One of the things that I do is I'm the administrative overall judge for the Fiery Food Challenge. So I'll be there. I don't do any of the tasting myself. I'm kind of the watchdog to make sure everything gets done and everything gets done in the right way. But I'll be doing some on-stage cooking demos again and walking around and shaking hands and talking to people. And
are you going to be in Albuquerque?
Oh, absolutely. I've been in Albuquerque every year that they've had it since 1997. And I was in Albuquerque earlier today. I came back from there. We went out and spent the night over there. So
I heard you were there. I had such a good time last year. I was there with Tommy last year and his son Spanx. This year, I think I'm going to go again. We got to get together and maybe have dinner or something.
Yeah,
I love
that'd
that
be
show.
good. That'd be good.
All right. So listen, Chili Chaplin says that CaJohn is the most down-to-earth person you'll ever meet. One of my mentors.
Yeah. Chili Chaplin is a great guy. He's working on a sauce and he's doing it the right way. He's not just throwing something together or throw it against the wall, see what sticks. He's really working on it. And he and I talk often, and he's a really good guy.
Yes, he is.
I think he's got a good future in this industry because he knows that people are what's most important.
That's everything. The few people know that. Even though the people are the ones buying their product, they still don't see that.
The thing is there's a few of the old school big names that really didn't understand that you need to keep your people happy if you want to keep your product selling, and they're not around anymore. But
and there's some suffering right now because of that. The Arabian Bard is in the UK. It snowed on her yesterday, but she says, CaJohn, what is your favorite memory of making a hot sauce?
It probably goes back, and it's one of those things that's really pretty easy to answer. It's the first time somebody bought something from me because they said it was awesome.
Wow.
And, that was probably one of the first 2 or 3 bottles I ever sold. But the people, we were at a little show. It was a boat and RV show that goes on in January in Columbus, Ohio. And they not only bought the sauce, they went and got like 4 other people and brought them back, and they all bought the sauce. And that's just the feeling that it gives you that I'm doing something right here. That's probably because that was like the stamp of approval.
Exactly, it's confirmation.
It's confirmation that you're doing something that's good. So
Here's an interesting one from Angel Kier. Are you ready? What sauce would you recommend for a non-chili head, John?
Well, we haven't talked about what I do now, and I'm in southern New Mexico, so I work with Hatch chilies and a lot of the stuff down here. A lot of people think that New Mexican food is really, really hot, but it's really not. I mean, it's more about flavor. And the one thing that's very unusual down here is the cultural aspect of it. And, we have some sauces. I was going to say, go for a flavor and not much heat. Our sauce 25, which is from Zia Chili Traders, our new company. And that is a triple garlic sauce. It's got black garlic. It's got fresh garlic. It's got roasted garlic. It's got a little sweet soy in it. It's not a hot sauce to speak of, but it is a little bit spicy. It's made with Flaming Flare, which is I'm losing the name of it right now, but it's a little red, almost like a jalapeno.
I got you. Very cool. So that would be a good starter one. Dizzy, here's a great question from the Chase the Heat historian. He has watched and cataloged every single pepper video I've ever done. Swear to you. He's wonderful. And he's a wrench. He's one of my moderators. That's my phone. And he says, what's your opinion on super hot peppers, the future of it? Will it be a new one and another one over and over again? Or do you think it'll just grow old?
Well, I think that in my honest opinion, its time has passed. There's a lot of people who are brought into the scene by things that are featured in the show, the hot ones. And, it's kind of, I'll put it this way about it. When Dave DeWitt, when we did a show on Food TV some years back, it was called Eat the Heat. He made a comment on there that I thought just spoke just volumes. He said, you never hear people say, I've tried hot and spicy. Now I'm going back to bland. And I think people get introduced to the super hots because they want to test themselves. Then they fall back to their comfort zone. And then once that comfort zone, it tends to stretch. And I also tell people it's kind of like the first time you drink a shot of whiskey, it's going to mess you up. But the more you drink it, the more you can drink it. And that's exactly why you chase the heat, right?
Amen, John.
Because you look for the next buzz. You look for the next. And, not everybody can eat those really super hot things. The show that we did with the streaming channel, it was definitely a group of people that some are still involved, but they're not all involved because that takes a superhuman level of tolerance and recovery.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing. I've been on my channel. It's only a little over 8 years old, and we have almost 7,000 videos. And there's one thing to make a video but just stay going and keep your foot in it. It's a difficult thing. Tolerances are funny with spice, John. They climb pretty quickly, but they drop quicker.
Well, I can tell you, 11 years ago, I had what to be 12 years ago now. I had surgery for throat cancer. I could eat the hottest all the time. I could eat the pods. I could eat the sauces. I was just right up there. And then after I had all the cancer treatments and stuff, I couldn't even eat ketchup because of the acidity of it.
How long have you been cancer free?
It'll be 12 years come August, but my surgery was the first part of February 12 years ago. Excellent.
I'm so happy about that.
Thank you.
I mean it.
But it was a battle to get back to where I could eat most chilies.
Right.
Now, I'm not back to where I can, do what you do, but I'll give it a try.
You'll get there. Hey, Jeremy Fowler says, what is your favorite all-time sauce? Yours or not?
Well, there's a sauce made in San Diego by a couple friends of mine, Mike and Diane. It's called Ring of Fire, and their Ring of Fire Extra Hot
I think I've had that.
Always been my favorite. It comes in like a 10 or 12 ounce, almost like looks like a wine bottle, and it's made with a whole lot of fresh ingredients. And it has never. It's the kind of hot sauce you can eat like a salsa. It just
right. It's almost a condiment. You can just pour it on.
Yeah, and it just. And Mike is a chef, and he put out a whole lot of recipe with it, and but that's probably the one that still hangs around today. The one that we can't get anymore that I sure would love was, I was talking about Rush Biasat a while ago, the guy that taught me how to make sauces. He had Cajun Rush, and Cajun Rush was it was kind of almost a cross between like a Mexican style sauce and a Cajun style sauce. It didn't have a whole lot of ingredients, but it had that background flavor that came through. So
right now we're gonna get to hot ones or hot shot. Excuse me. We got to talk about that. But before we do, like CaJohn's, let's talk about that for just a minute. What was the biggest struggle you had when you first started? What was the thing you had to get over?
Well, I'm not going to say that we had. Well, first of all, it was time, because I was a fire protection engineer and electrical engineer too, and it was just a matter that this was my passion to do this, and we actually fell into 2 or 3 things that happened. There was a great big thing came from the Surgeon General that said fats were no good. You needed to take the fats out, and that took the flavor out. So. People were turning on to hot sauces. Granted, it was the big national names, and so that happened. And then we happened to run into a thing that was called Food TV. We had a producer from Cincinnati. They're all independent producers, but she got a hold of me in late '99 and said, "We're going to pitch this program called Eat the Heat to see if we can get it on Food TV." But I had a friend who was making a thing called Texas hot salt, and there was a chef from New York on there who was talking about how to make country fried steak. I mean, he was a gentrified person, but he was talking about country food, and he said, "This is the only hot salt you can use to make this." And that guy could not make enough of it after that.
I bet.
So we were in we kind of grew like this. First year in business, we did 7,500. Second year in business, we did 75,000. We ended up getting discovered, I guess, by the Frigidaire company. They knew hot sauce was an oncoming thing, because, it didn't have the fats or the cholesterol, the things that everybody was so worried about. They contracted with us to make a 6-pack of bottles and put it into anybody that bought a washer.
You're kidding.
Or a dishwasher or a stove from Frigidaire or from Cowboy Maloney, which is in the Southeast. But it was Montgomery Ward's. So, Monkey Ward's isn't around anymore.
I remember them.
So
you gotta be kidding me. You buy a washer, you get a 6-pack, like a case of hot sauce, 6-pack of hot sauce?
You send in a coupon, and we did the fulfillment on it. And Frigidaire didn't care if we contacted those people or not. But anyway, in our next year of business, we went from 75,000 to 300,000 in sales. And it was just phenomenal. It was kind of a flash in the pan, I thought. But yeah, overcoming the time that sort of begins to take, and okay, right. How do I find a co-packer who's going to do this? So in 2002, we bit the bullet and we opened our own kitchen. So
brilliant. Let me ask you a question. When you do a sauce, because you've done so many sauces, do you think what's your approach? Do you think, okay, I want to do a sauce for Italian? Or do you say, do you think about the ingredients first? Do you think, how do you even approach it?
Well, we're more responsive to our customers than we are to our own thoughts at this point. 28 years now I've been doing this. So, we've tried a whole lot of things. And, we haven't, and nobody calls it Monkey Ward's except my mom.
Me too, John. That's Krista Melinda.
Yeah. Anyway, we've come up with things, and everybody says, well, you probably have never made a stinker. Oh yeah, you do.
Oh, you had to, for sure.
I mean, you just keep it quiet because you don't want anybody to know. But no, we've come up with some. But we pay a whole lot of attention to trends. One of the things that I developed right before we sold was a pickle hot sauce, and the new owners kind of said, well, that's not going to make it. And, so then some other friends of ours came out with a pickle hot sauce, the Angry Irishman. And,
yep.
And, it started doing well. So then they said, well, can we have that recipe back? And I said, sure. Well, they changed it and did some things with another maker. And so it went out there. But now that we're free again, we're making pickle hot sauce. And,
cool.
40% of our hot sauce is ground pickles. Ground best made dills, a sharp, strong dill. So
Jeremy Fowler has come up with a question that I had written down, believe it or not, because this is one that it's so weird to me. I can't believe I've never asked you this in person. I mean, I really can't believe it. But where in the world or how did Frostbite? How did that come about? And for anybody, there's a lot of people who aren't going to know what Frostbite is. Please tell everybody watching what Frostbite is, because that's something unique, man.
Frostbite, well, the big battle before we had any of the blogs or any of the other Facebook or anything like that, we had a thing called the Chili Heads list. It was it was sponsored by the University of Cal at Davis, and it was Global Garden is what it was underneath. And so there was this big kind of push on there to who could make the world's first white hot sauce. Well, we have white chilies now and stuff, so it's not. So it was just a matter of what we could do. And, being a double engineer like I was with fire protection and electronics, I had to know how everything worked. And so I started looking into some of the things, from a capsaicin extract standpoint. And so we were able to talk with a guy who was a food technologist who was also a salesman for these people. And we kind of worked together. And the one that nobody asks about, but it was right there. It was actually the first attempt at making Frostbite was Magma. Magma is
I remember bottle
that you turn over, and it looks like a lava lamp as the extract, winds its way back up to the top.
I remember that. That's a long time ago. But the weird thing about it's mostly used in drinks, right?
Well, the Frostbite, it was the kind of thing that it's very thin and it's not got much flavor. It's just heat. It's just. We were with it, and we were at a Mexican restaurant one night, and a guy said, "You got some hot sauce in the car?" And I said, "Well, no, all I've got's Frostbite." I said, "But you're not going to like it on your tacos or anything." And he said, "Well, go get it. Let me see." And so I went and got it. I'm not putting this on my. And he said, "But he put it in a beer."
Oh.
And then my wife put it in her margarita.
Or a Bloody Mary, I bet would be good in any drink like that.
And so it was just kind of like, this is just great. It doesn't change the color or the flavor, but it adds heat. And, we had two or three new versions to come out with, but.
Good question to segue into. Noah Wright asked, how many attempts, John, does it take to get the sauce just the way you like it?
Oh, I get aggravated about that because of my engineering background. Either you know how to do it or you don't. Now, there's a thing, but the one thing that just drives me crazy is you hear people say, "This is my 117th attempt." Well, what the hell were you doing to begin with?
Right.
What did you start with? Dirt?
The worst we ever did, listen, the worst that we ever had was, I think, 13 attempts to get a sauce right.
Well, I mean, and the thing is any sauce, when you put it together, it's like making a chili. People always say chili's better the next day or a week later. The thing is, that's the way almost any product that you mix a whole lot of things together with.
because they all blend and marry.
It's not going to taste like it will a week from now when you make it. They have to meld. They have to do what they do to each other's things. And so you do have to, but I'm going to say 5 or 6 is not unusual unless it's something's got you totally stumped. Because you can put too much garlic in, very, very simple sort of thing. Or you can find 2 things. The other thing that's also crazy is a lot of people feel that 27 ingredients make a great sauce. Well, 27 ingredients get in each other's way so much. And they just don't.
I've had one, John, I swear to you, I had one. I can't remember. Dizzy may remember it. It took me 2 minutes. Yeah. I'm not making it up to read the ingredients. 2 minutes. Never seen anything like it. It was a good sauce, but my thought was, I remember doing the video saying, if you said every one of these ingredients to somebody and said, make a sauce. Holy moly. Sometimes simplistic is better, right?
Well, I've had 2 sauces that they were from the CaJohn's line. One was Quetzalcoatl, which was kind of a taco sauce. Somebody brought me a bottle of Cholula, and it was a restaurant chain, and said, I need you to make this. And I'm not one to knock somebody off just because it's kind of like I have respect for what those people have done. So I came up with that, and I did it in about 20 minutes. And just threw it together, and they said, "Well, this is better than Cholula."
Right.
And then the other one that I always like to talk about is I had 3 of my grandsons. They're helping us stem peppers, and they were serranos. They were red serranos, and we had a sauce called Serrano lime. Well, we got all the stemming done and everything, and then. They were kind of, Grandpa, we got to make a sauce before we go home. And my daughter was saying, come on, we're going. Let's get out of here. And I said, well, wait. So I threw this thing together in 10 to 20 minutes in a 20-gallon kettle. I made 10 gallons of this sauce, and it was our CaJohn's Serrano lime that, it's still.
That's where it was born. That's so funny.
Yeah. And it was just.
I know someone, John,
but it's that balance. Once you understand the balance.
I don't understand it then. See, I'm out of my league. I'm out of my league. And it is what it is. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. Bizzle is one of my favorite guys. I'm in love with this dude. He's one of the greatest guys, John. I'll tell you about him sometime when we have more time. But he has a tough question. Or the question he always asks. What are 3 things you're thankful for, John?
Well, I'm thankful for that. My mother was a great cook and got me very interested into. We would go to family things, and everybody would talk about how good my mom's food was. And my dad was one of 8 children, so we had lots of cousins and to have all those people talk about my mom. So I'm thankful that my mom took the time to teach me how to cook. I'm really thankful that I stumbled into the 1997 Fiery Foods and Barbecue show. I didn't go in as a booth, but I went to just see it, and I got to learn. And from being a sales engineer, I've never been afraid to talk to anybody. I was good friends with Paul McElhenney, just because I went to something where he was talking and went up and struck up a conversation afterwards. And the third thing is I'm thankful for Chili's. And God made Chili's.
Amen. I'm thankful you're cancer free too. But boy, you're right. Well, I can't wait to see you at Albuquerque. Now we got let's see. Here's from Lawn Dog. Johnny, tough question time. CaJohn's favorite green sauce. We know what the public thinks, but what sauce would that award go to?
Well, there are 2 that are really good. Jersey Bonfire makes and they're good friends of mine too, but they make a green sauce. And Johnny of Heartbreaking Dawns made a green sauce, the Mean Green. And those 2 are really hard to beat.
You know what? Another good one is?
Freshies has a good one too out of Colorado.
Primo's, his green.
Primo, Premonition.
Right.
Fantastic. John and Primo are on a sauce of mine, except it's called Primo and Lefty. It's CaJohn. It was going to be CaJohn and Primo, but there was a little problem with the name, so we ended up calling it Primo and Lefty. But Troy and I worked together. I worked with him when he was first getting started, and he's got a real talent because he's got that taste too. He's got that balance on his tongue that he,
Yep.
when he needs help, he's got a wife that really helps a lot, just like mine has. So.
He's amazing. Yeah, she's amazing. His family's growing,
Yeah.
All right, so
they were never
West
supposed to have one. Now they got two.
But you know what the thing is, though? Going from one kid to two is easy. Going from 2 to 3, whatever. It's simple.
We ended up with 3, yep.
But it's going from no kids to 1 kid. That's holy mackerel. That's a big one. He's already got that one behind him, so he's good. Let's see. CaJohn, do you make any of your sauces without vinegar?
Well, yes,
Great
we
question.
do. Yes, we do. But the age-old thing, and there's a well-known pepper sauce company that's nationwide by the name of Melinda's, and they got in trouble with the FDA because they were saying they didn't use vinegar; they used acetic acid. Well, what's the mother of vinegar? Acetic acid. There has to be something in there. We make some sauces here that we use fresh lime juice, but fresh lime juice is an organic ingredient, and I don't mean like organically grown, but it over time it loses its efficiency, its efficacy, and so it will gradually. So when I'm also a process authority, so I can write process letters for people and things, and if I have a sauce that's acidified with something like that, it's not going to have a very good shelf life, just because it tends to go what my old mentors used to say is you turn from hot sauce to champagne when you open the bottle. So
That's only happened to me 3 times in all the times I've been doing this.
Yeah.
One time, I swear to you, the top came off. The porch was overhead. It hit the roof over my head. I didn't upload that video. Steve Smallwood, there's the machine. He says hello.
The machine. There's my brother.
Isn't he great? Steve,
he's
right?
awesome guy.
Steve's going to be on the show. He's going to be one of my guests.
Awesome. And, Steve is one of the guys who's contributed to some of my sauce making. When I say that I listen to the customers, I listen to the people that I know that eat hot sauce and appreciate it. And, that's the one thing is people get hooked on. It's kind of like having blinders on and say, okay, this is the only hot sauce I'll eat.
Right.
You need to get those people that have a broad spectrum of what they like. It's just like people, it's like I was in a place.
When you go buying a sauce, good question. We'll flow right into J Cap's question. What do you look for when you're purchasing peppers for your sauces? And then go right into sauces because everybody has a certain thing they look for.
Well, the thing is, and we'll get into the grower thing again. When we're purchasing peppers, we have to look for the integrity of the farm, the ability to produce. Are they going to ship fresh? Are they going to? But, a lot of people, when we had CaJohn's plant in Westerville, come towards harvest time, people would call me and say, do you buy peppers? And I'd say, yeah. And they'd say, well, I've got a ton of peppers. Can I bring them in? And they'd bring in this little like raspberry basket full of peppers. And, it's kind of like to make a 40-gallon batch, you need 250 pounds of peppers minimum. And we were making 100-gallon batches. So, that's a small batch compared to what the big boys make. But, that's the one thing. And, there's just so much that can
There's a lot of boxes that a grower needs to check. I mean, they got to be able to scale up. They have to have integrity. They've got to ship on time. They got to have consistency within the pod. There's a lot.
The thing is, and you can't, when you get to a decent size of a company, you have to have 2 or 3 layers.
I love it. I'm getting Willie Nelson vibes.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I can dig it. I can see that. So listen, John, you're online. I know you're on social media. How many times have you been in, like, let's say, a Facebook group where somebody will pop in and they'll say, "Hey, I'm kind of new to the group. Just want to ask a question. Hot sauces, should I refrigerate them or not?"
I knew you were going to say that.
So here's the question from Noah Wright. Your thought on hot sauces that say refrigerate after opening. Tell us your thoughts, because, boy, I'll tell you what, if you ever want to start a fight in a Facebook group, holy crap.
Way back in the early 90s with the hot sauce, the chili heads list, the forum there, that was always back then. They do not need refrigerated unless fruit-based, or if you've got an organic, what I'm trying to say, acidifier. Acidifier. Right. If you have an organic acidifier, that lime juice or lemon juice will break down, and fruit will also be bad as well. Like I said, I'm a process authority, and I don't put refrigerate after opening on anything of mine, including the sauces. But I will say that the salsas say, best if consumed within 2 weeks.
Right.
But the problem is when you put refrigerate after opening on it, it back in the 90s, people used to say that's a CYA, a cover your ass statement. Well, it's kind of opening yourself up to a lawsuit in this litigious time, because if you do say refrigerate after opening and somebody gets sick, they're still going to come after you, and they're going to use that against you.
Right. You know what? In 8 years of doing my channel, I have the only stuff that I put in the fridge are fruit-based. Other than that, there's no reason to. I've never had, not one time have I ever had a sauce go bad. Not once.
Yeah. There's a few things that I like. I like to have chilled when I use them. But,
do you really?
Yeah.
See, I don't. I think the aroma is better.
If I'm eating seafood, especially, I like a chilled sauce. I mean, I think it comes from the old days when, when everybody was doing the horseradish and ketchup and put it together, put it in the refrigerator, try to keep that horseradish. But
now you got Krista Melinda loves your hat. Can you tell us about it? Did you find it at a store? Was it a gift?
American Hat Makers online.
There you go. Well, you know what? If you look at every time I'm with, he's always got a cool lid on. I don't care. Every time I've ever been with him, always got a smooth lid.
That's the one I've worn the most.
This one here?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. I was expecting a red jacket tonight. One thing that everybody needs to know about John is he's the most colorful dude. And when you go to a chili show, if you think people know me, forget about it. You should see John. He's like, you are like Gandalf the White. You are.
The other half of the red jacket is this.
That's pretty cool, man.
The red jacket has got the Diligence Piper coat of arms on it. That's like the Pro Football Hall of Fame yellow jacket.
Right, or the green jacket for the
Masters.
Yeah, exactly. What there was something I was just going to ask you. How many people have won or have been inducted into the Hot Sauce Hall of Fame?
There's 19 currently. There's been 19 of them for 4 years now.
And how many are living?
There's a couple I'm not real sure that still are living. Cy Brown from Louisiana brand, Bruce Foods. But, just like the year that I went in, I was so fortunate. I went in the inaugural year, which was 2015.
That's awesome.
With Edmund McElhenney. Just to be on the ballot with him was just amazing to me. And of course, he was in the 1860s, so he's not alive. But Trappe and the guy that started Crystal Bomber Foods. He's not, but that was one of the things when they were getting rolling with the Hall of Fame was just like, well, how do we do it? Do we put in people, from a legacy standpoint, but the people who were putting it together said, okay, we're going to do it year by year. So I think it really, there was a lot of people that felt, especially because once we got in the Hall of Fame, we were on the board to help decide. A lot of those people said, well, you can't take new people without putting some of these people in first. Jacob Frank, that's the funny thing is that everybody used to say hot sauce, Ohio. What are you doing? How do you get hot sauce in Ohio? Jacob Frank started Frank's pepper sauce, red hot, on the banks of the Ohio River in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was taught by a Cajun like I was. So
that's awesome. Hey, Noah's got a question for you. How many peppers make up one batch of sauce on average, and how much would that one batch make? Obviously varies.
Oh, it's got a huge variance. And back under CaJohn's, POP, percentage of pepper. That's one thing that we always disclaimed, or I'd say claimed. We did a disclaimer saying this sauce has 41% pepper solids. This sauce has 12% pepper solids. A lot of people don't realize, like Red Hot that I was talking about, it only has about 16% pepper solids. Most of it's vinegar. Wow. Tabasco only has 7% pepper solids.
I believe that.
So it really comes down to, when we did our, it's called simply chili now, but it was when we put up our peppers, we would take fresh peppers, we would mix 80% of the kettle, we'd grind the peppers and put in 80% of what we were going to make would be peppers, and then 20% would be distilled white vinegar, 60 grain, and 60 grain is 6%. And we decided we could just run that through a grinder and put it in bottles, and then we'd have people could just buy these, simply chili is what, like I said, they're called now, but that's what it was. And those were 80%,
Here's the thing. You can't believe what you read, though, because they'll put things on bottles that aren't true. That isn't true.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean,
I'm not going to pick on anybody in particular, but I got a bottle right there that says what the POP is on it. And the sauce is a little under 4% as hot as the person claims it's supposed to be. So,
that unfortunately is part of the game today,
You know what? In fact, let me tell you something funny. I saw this person on a video recently where they were talking to him about it. And they said, how do you account for this? You ever see it? For those people who've watched the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, at one point, Jack Sparrow cheats in a sword fight. He goes, "You cheated." He goes, "Pirate." Like, no kidding, I'm a pirate. When they asked him that question on this video, his answer, he may as well have just said pirate, because that was the answer he gave just in words. Well, we got to get back to some honesty in hot sauce, I think.
How about the movie The Jerk? When he walked up and said, "No, we need people to win these things," and he goes, "Oh, it's a profit scheme. I get it."
That's a great movie, man. Yeah. That is such a great movie. They don't make them like that.
He hates these cans. These cans. But I mean, that's just the thing is, and anybody who knows pepper sauce, peppers, whatever, they're going to know whether you're telling the truth or not. And you just can't pull the wool over the eye. I always have had so much respect for my customers and for my potential customers. I will listen to people go on, and I know some of the people that you're talking about, and then go on and they're saying, "Oh, well, this." It's just like the old snake oil salesman. It's just kind of like it'll fix anything.
Right. It reminds me of like the outlaw Josie Wales. How did it work on spit? So listen, how hard
dying ain't much of a living, son.
Exactly. Oh, that's such a good movie.
Yep,
let me ask you a question. How difficult was the decision to sell to Hot Shots, and what were the contributing factors that got you to the point where you said, "This is it, it's time"?
Well, we were going through another one of our growth spurts, and we were beginning to lose some of the structure of our infrastructure, I guess you could say. We lost our kitchen manager to the U.S. Postal Service. He said, "I hope you're not upset." I said, "You just got a job you can never be fired for, and you're going to have every benefit that's ever been known to man." I said, "We can't do it." And it was just some personal things that we were going through at the time, like that. And the hot shots just approached us and said, "Have you ever thought about selling?" And I said, "Well, are you for sale?" I said, "Well, I guess everything's always for sale."
Amen, John. I love you for that. You bet.
He said, "Well, what would you do?" And I said, "Well, I'd hope I'd be able to stay on with some sort of responsibility."
So was it a bittersweet thing? Was it a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, or was it all positive?
Well, I don't want to say too much about it, but it sure didn't end up the way that I wanted it to.
Right.
But the thing is that you went from somebody who had a lot of passion, and I had 3 or 4 people in my company that were really passionate too. My general manager, who was the head chef, not the kitchen manager, he was great. He did a lot of the sauces when I was off sick. And, I also had that eye opener too of, I'm not supposed to be here.
Amen. Right.
And that was like, okay, you got about 40 to 45% chance of surviving this. And,
what does that sound like? What's that like hearing that?
It's like somebody smacking you in the face or punching you in the nose. That was my reaction. I had a brother who was older than me who passed away. He was a firefighter, and he had an unusual.
Sorry.
Unusual. No problem. I had the phone ringing. So anyway, he had unusual lung cancer, and they were fighting it. They thought that he had pneumonia, and he was fighting that for 6 months or so. And then they sent him to the Cleveland Clinic, and they said he had this unusual cancer. 3 weeks later, he was dead. He just gave up.
Yeah, well, that's everything. The will to fight. You got to stay in the game, and you're here. You know what I mean?
So
let me ask you this:
but going back to hot shots, that was part of the decision. It was kind of like, okay, what if this comes back? What if, this is an opportunity for me to solidify things for my family.
Well, it's also nice that you still have a hand in what happens here. That's beautiful. So you still are part of it.
Well, I did for a while.
So now you don't. Now you're doing your own thing.
Right.
Did you ever think when you first started out, when you first walked into that show, that you would have the impact on the chili world that you have? Because listen, like, wrap your arms around it. You got to accept that legend thing. You really are, man. It's amazing. Did you ever think that was going to happen?
No.
Crazy,
I really have a hard time understanding. Now, the practical part of me, I'd say I understand it, but I just can't believe that we've developed a following that we've had over the years. And,
it's like the
and the one thing is, being a chili head was above all else in the chili world back in the 90s. But I mean, it didn't matter whether you were a millionaire or a bum or whatever, if you loved chili, you were accepted. It was just, and, hot sauce, cook with it, whatever you do, there was a brotherhood, still is a brotherhood, but it's a different kind of brotherhood now. But, it's I got them, like I said, I know Dave Hirschkoff really well. He called me quite a few times when I was, sick years ago, and Blair and David Ashley. I was kind of the go-between among them to keep the peace. And I was the one that they would call and say, what did so and so say? And I'd say, well, they respect you. But so it was just kind of but to have been, those were the big guys, in my time when I came in.
Right.
They had a lot of the market. And
well, it's changed. Listen, the
they
changes
inspired me a lot.
Well, listen, the changes that have happened just since I came onto the scene, it's only been 8 years. The changes in just 8 years have been mind-boggling. If you look at what's happened since 98, when the red Savina was the hottest pepper in the world, holy moly. I mean, it's just a different animal altogether. Where do you see what's the future of the chili world, you think, with respect to hot sauce?
Well, I hate to break a lot of people's heart, and tell them that you're never going to see a 3 million. You're never going to see a 2.5 million. It just isn't going to happen. It's an outlier that broke 2 million. You know, when you talk about averages, they're way down. And like I said, I've been with the Chili Pepper Institute since 2008. And I can tell you that one of the things that's mostly that they hesitate to make any statement about anything. But one of the things that the students choose for their projects is quite often the pungency, the Scoville levels.
Right. But I agree with you. I've been saying the same thing. 3 million. No, don't hold your breath.
And, you know, I was interesting. You were talking about watching a movie. I don't know whether it was the same movie that I watched, but somebody actually said when he was questioned on his numbers, oh, it's all marketing. Listen, I heard that come out of his mouth. And that person, I made all of his sauces the first 4 years he was in business.
He's like Voldemort, he that shall not be named. I'll tell you what, man. That person, when I first came into this chili community, he was riding the white horse, wearing the white hat. Now he's proudly storming in on that black horse, wearing the black. He's okay with it. He's wrapping his arms around it. I think it's disgusting. A couple of things here are great. Dizzy Dragon says, this is not a question, but thank you for your hard work. Your work has made this chili world very special. Thank you. So
you're very welcome, Dizzy.
Here's another great from Mr. Steve the Machine Smallwood. CaJohn is loved by way more than he can ever fathom. That includes me. I'm honored to have met him, to have him as a friend.
I'm honored to have the customers and the friends that I've had over the years. And I can tell you, Steve's in the upper crust of that whole group.
He's not only a classy guy.
He was a couple hours away from me where he lived, and now it's a lot farther. But
listen, he's one of the, I've rarely seen anybody eat a pepper, Reapers or any super like I've seen him. He would eat it and just look at you and go, you say the eyes don't lie. He would look at you, and his eyes were just crystal white, clear as a bell, man. He would eat that thing and just look at you. I was like, holy crap. I remember watching the first time I saw him, I was like, okay, this dude eats peppers, man. He's different.
And, the whole thing is going back and looking at some of the people in the business. I don't want people to think that what I said there was, a cut. I don't always agree with what other people do, but I realize that it's part of the business and
part of the game.
They have their followers as well. So, it's,
oh yeah.
I said a lot of it is kind of like Christian. How many denominations of Christian are there?
Sure.
It's the same way with Chili Head.
You also said it very nicely. You said it very politically correct. You handled that well. Listen, you're my friend. I'm honored that you're my friend, John. And I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule with me. One more question. What's the future? What does your future look like in the sauce industry? What's going on?
We're storming back. We're just in the part of the country most people don't know about. And, the one thing I will say about New Mexico is chili is
religion.
Part of their culture. It's not just a taste or a flavor. It's part of what they teach the kids to, make chili sauce at a very young age. Chili is, you don't have a meal without chili.
No, and it's a religion. You know what? Chili's are to New Mexico what football is to Texas or barbecue.
Yeah,
you're right. So I'm excited for you, John. I'm excited to see what's next for you. I can't wait to see you in New Mexico for Fiery Foods.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Thank you. Listen, you have a lot of things you could be doing. I know you drove a lot today. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule.
That's one of the things I said. If I drove, 250 miles out of Columbus, I would get almost to Illinois or well into Pennsylvania or getting close down to North Carolina, Tennessee. Up here, or down here, I should say, going up to Albuquerque, 235 miles is, I drive a lot of times to deliver product. I'll drive up to Santa Fe, and, that's a 600-mile round trip. And,
right.
That's just expected out here. Our closest town is El Paso, 45 miles away. To the west is about 65 miles. To the east is 80 miles, and to the north is another 80 miles.
Help me out. Right, very close to where the where they hold the fiery foods, there's a mountain where you can get a little, get on a gondola and go to the top and hang out there.
Sandia.
Okay, I went there last time I was there 2 times ago. I was with David Foy and his son.
Yeah.
And David was busy, but his son and I went to the top of that. I was dressed with a T-shirt on when we left because it was warm. Bro, it was warm. And as we're going up, people are looking at me like I was purple. I said to I'm like, dude, is something wrong with me? He's like, no, why? I'm like, everybody's looking at me like there's something wrong with me. We didn't think a thing of it. We were on top for maybe an hour. And I mean, the temperature was dropping like a ball off a table. I was freezing it. I was running around on top just to stay warm. I'd never seen anything like it like that. Now it's like that here in Tucson.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to be there.
The thing is people don't understand in Ohio. They say, well, what's the temperature? When I get up, it's in the 20s. 5 o'clock, it can be 75. And I said, as soon as that sun goes down, it starts a free fall. And
there's no radiant cooling, so the temperature
and it doesn't start warming up until the sun comes back up over the mountains that are to the east of us, the Oregon Mountains. So
it was radiant cooling. That's what that is. It just chills so fast.
The people at White Sands, there's signs everywhere on White Sands there that says, bring clothes. We can have 60 to 70 degree swings.
Well, you'll get 3 or 4, at least 3 seasons in one day. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you get all 4. You wake up, it's wintertime, it's spring by 11.
We've got
summer
3
by
inches.
4.
We got 3 inches of snow right now, and they don't know how to deal with this. So.
Right. Well, I'm glad you dealt with it well today. Thank you for everything you've done. I'm so glad you're my friend.
Thank you for bringing me in. I'm very proud to have been part of it. And thanks to everybody out there that's listening. If it wasn't for you guys, there wouldn't be any CaJohn. We'd have just made some sauces and then probably gone back doing fire equipment stuff. So
you had a lot of fans in the chat, but you're a rock star, John. I can't wait to hang out with this now. Let's do dinner in Albuquerque.
Sounds good. See you in a couple
of months. John.
Love you too, John.
Everybody that was in the chat, thank you so much for your questions, your participation, and your support. If you haven't tried CaJohn sausages, go ahead and get some and be looking for what John does next. Thank you, John.
The new company is Zia, Z-I-A, the thing that's on the flag, Chili Traders, and it's ziachili.com. And
I'm going to put a link in the description.
Lots of new things. We have some really super hot stuff, and we also have the really mild stuff.
And you'll be seeing me review this on the channel. Thank you, John. Love you, man.
See you soon. Love you guys. Take care.
I'm Johnny Scoville. That was John, the legend, John Hard, and this was After the Burn.